He's been called by National Review Nebraska's nemesis of Obamacare. On the campaign trail, Ben Sasse has gone as far as to say he not only opposes Obamacare, he's going to repeal it.
I'm one of the few, it seems, who read and studied Obamacare's 2,300 pages. And then I hit the road crusading against it. It's worse than you think.
U.S. Senate candidate and president of Midland University, Ben Sasse, joins us live this morning on News 5. And now, Ben, you've been clearly opposed to Obamacare. Is it realistic for you to say that you're going to repeal it?
Yeah, it's a fair question. It's a disastrous piece of legislation. It's not implementable, and it's going to fail. Conservatives have to be articulating solutions for when it fails. It may not be repealed after this midterm election because President Obama would likely veto it, but conservatives have to propose what we're for in 2016 and beyond.
You have a concrete plan in mind. This morning, you released your Anti-Obamacare Recovery Plan. Can you tell us a little bit about that plan?
You bet. It's an exciting day. We're announcing it here in the Tri-Cities. We had a town hall this morning in Hastings. We'll be in Grand Island at 5 and Kearney tonight at 7:30, talking with constituents about what we need to do to replace it. Obamacare is a disaster, but much in American healthcare was really broken even before Obamacare. And the #1 problem wasn't that we had too little government, but that we already had too much. There's a bias in the tax code that makes it impossible or very, very difficult for Nebraskans to keep their insurance when they change jobs. And that's the main source of growing uninsurance in the country. We need to fix that bias in the tax code.
As you said in your campaign video, you turned things around at Midland University. How do you plan to bring what you've learned in your role there to Washington?
Yeah, I'm a 42-year-old non-politician. I've never run for anything before, but Nebraskans believe what we believe around the breakfast table at my house, which is a constitutional system of limited and enumerated powers creates a framework for ordered liberty where life is lived in the private sector. Nebraska families, churches, small businesses, farms and ranches, that's the center of the American idea. Washington isn't the center of the world, and the first thing we need to do is stop sending people to Washington who think it's the center of the world. We need to fight to bring common sense to Washington. We need more Nebraska, not more Washington, D.C.
Crowded race, what differentiates you from the other candidates and what you will bring to Washington?
Yeah, there are 5 Republican Senate candidates in our primary, so it's an easy thing for voters to get confused about. I'm not running this race because I need a new job. I'm not running against anybody. I'm running for the future of our kids and grandkids. And what we are finding right now as we travel the state, we're spending 40 to 50% of the time on our campaign RV, our campaign bus. My wife Melissa and I have 3 little kids, and we take them on the road with us. And we're having these town halls, and hundreds of people are turning out, and they want a constitutional recovery. And a lot of the groups in Nebraska and beyond that have endorsed us have said it's not good enough to be a vote. We need a voice for a constitutional recovery, and that's why people are jumping on with momentum in this campaign.
If elected, will your #1 priority be getting rid of Obamacare?
Absolutely. Obamacare isn't just failed legislation. Obamacare is a failed worldview. Obamacare is the idea that if anything is big and broken in life, only the federal government can fix it. And Obamacare seems to think that we'd be better off if Nebraskans and Americans were turned into dependent subjects. Our founders didn't believe that, and we don't believe that in Nebraska. We believe in entrepreneurial, community-building citizens as the center of life, and Obamacare, the legislation, and the worldview need to be fully repealed.
Something that's really caught my attention that you've said is you think that there are problems with both parties in Washington. You know, how do you plan to change that, or what can you help bring to the table?
Yeah, I think that we have Obamacare not just because Democrats think there's a federal government solution to every problem, but we have Republicans who regularly can't articulate any solutions to problems. The American idea is mostly about the private sector, but we need conservatives to rescue the Republican Party because it's a party that's too regularly lazy and intellectually bankrupt and drunk on power. And Republicans get to Washington and they then decide that Washington isn't such a bad place as long as they're in charge. I don't believe that, and our founders didn't believe that. Our campaign video, which you showed a little bit of, and folks can check out at benfornebraska.com, plays with the idea of moving governance back closer to the people. Nebraska is the center of the world, not Washington, D.C.
As we said, crowded race. A lot of polls have you and Shane Osborne right at the top, and the Omaha World Herald just releasing an article about a letter put out by the Osborne campaign. Not sure if you want to touch on that, but is that something that could help your campaign?
You know, we salute Shane's service, and we salute everybody who's served in uniform. The first duty of government is to defend us from enemies, foreign and domestic, and those who've worn the uniform, we owe them a debt of gratitude. But frankly, that isn't anything related to an issue in my campaign. My campaign is about the future of the country. We're leaving our kids and grandkids, and that's what we're talking about on the campaign trail every day, including today here in Hastings and GI.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us, and we absolutely have plans to follow you along your campaign trail. So
thanks, Shelby.
Thanks for
nice
coming
to be
by
with you.
this morning. Thank you. Turning our attention to weather, a warm-up headed our way. Chief Meteorologist Travis Konecki is in the Storm Tracker Weather Center with the details. Travis?